Welcome back and thanks for staying with us here on your election headquarters. This segment is called Path to 50% plus one.
50 plus one.
50 plus one. That's what it is, 50 plus one. And the journey is on, and we told you we'll be with you all the way till we get the victory and the concession speeches. But before then, of course, we'll hear from the Electoral Commission as they declare the results. We're told that today it will happen. The 24-hour timeline was extended, just in case you missed it. They earlier issued a press statement explaining that that will not happen because of circumstances beyond their control. And then after that, there was a press conference.
Yes, so the release came detailing why exactly the Electoral Commission would not be able to execute as planned. And subsequently, we had that press conference where there was further enumeration with regard to that. So let's cross over now and find out what the Electoral Commission's chair, Jean Mensah, had to share with us earlier. I should say today. Yes, yeah. This morning.
So thank you very much for coming to the Commission at short notice. We thought that it would be important to meet with you, to brief you on some issues that have arisen during the course of this evening. And I'm referring particularly to the Commission's inability to declare the results as planned at 5 p.m. today. I think the Commission had intended and had indicated its intention and willingness to declare the 2020 presidential election at 5 p.m. today. That is within 24 hours after the general election. However, we experienced quite a number of challenges, making it difficult for us to fulfill this promise. And what had happened was the unexpected rain that occurred in many parts of the country yesterday resulted in a number of voting interrupted. And the result was was that long after voting, some centers had to continue their voting, and this led to some delays with voting and the subsequent collation of results. Naturally, this had an impact on our plans in the sense that our officers could not collate the results and forward them to the appropriate locations as planned. Secondly, we also experienced some challenges with the rain, and particularly in some of our areas in the hinterlands, but western north to be precise. It was difficult for our officers to travel to the regional capital and to send the results there. So this led to some substantial delays, resulting in our receiving the results late. And this explains why the Commission was not able to release and declare the results as promised at 5 p.m. today. It's important to emphasize that the process is ongoing. As we speak, the Commission has received 14 out of the 16 regional results. We have the National Collation Center, where we've had representatives of the political parties since yesterday. We have 2 reps for each party, and they are working with our own staff. As the results come in, the party representatives review them against what they themselves have received from the regions. And once they are satisfied that the results that have come to us from the regions is a true reflection of what they have received, they then append their signatures to it before the results are brought to my attention. As returning officer of the 2020 presidential elections, I then certified these results. Out of the 14 results received, we have certified 7 to date. To this point, we believe that by the end of the evening, we would have certified the remaining 7. We are expecting to receive the 2 in the early hours of this morning, that making up the 16, and then it will put us in a good place to declare the results. We've also put the 7 results that we've certified, received, approved, and certified on the various social media platforms and the website of the Commission. So we are treating the citizenry to visit our websites and our social media platforms to review the results of the 7 regions that have so far been certified. It is important to note, and there may have been speculations of some attempts to manipulate the results. This is false. I think the process that we have is a very transparent and participatory process. And I think any interested Ghanaian is aware that at the polling station we have the political party agents with our officials at the polling station. At the end of the election, at the polling station level, parties then count the results, they collate them, and they document them on the face of the pink sheets, the statement of poll, and the agents of the parties then sign on to this. From the polling station level, the results are sent to the constituency collation centers, again in the presence of the political party agents. And at the constituency collation centers, all the results coming in from the various polling stations are collated and put on the face of the pink sheet and signed on to by all the agents of the political party. This is a very transparent and participatory process and involves both the Electoral Commission's officials and the political parties. This year, we have introduced a new level of transparency and inclusiveness. And what we have done is to introduce a regional collation center. So unlike the previous elections where constituency collation results were sent straight to the National Collation Center here at the head office, constituency results are sent to the Regional Collation Center. And there also we have the full involvement of the representatives of the political parties. So what happens is that every region collates all the constituencies in that particular region. And therefore, if a region has 20 constituencies, you find on the regional collation sheet the summary, the details of 20 constituency results. Additionally, we also have the regional summary sheet, and you find a summary of 20 constituency results. And this also involves the political parties in the sense that they approve this, they verify the information that is transported onto the collation sheets at the regional level, and they append their signature to it. So this is the level of participation of the political parties, making it impossible for anybody to rig an election. And therefore, if there may have been speculations out there in the public space in the last few hours, we entreat the public to ignore it, because the political parties append their signatures to these, collation sheets, regional collation sheets, starting from the polling station to the constituency and then to the region, before it is sent to the National Collation Center. At the National Collation Center, I believe some of you may have witnessed what happens there. We find you have the representatives of the political parties who, when the results come in from the regions, they review it and verify it against what they themselves have received from their own agents. And once they are happy with it, they append their signatures to it before it is brought to the office of the chairperson for certification. It is only after that that the results are projected on our website or shared with the general public. So this is the level of participation that we see. It is important to emphasize that this year the results are still coming in the good old fax way and by email. And so what we are getting is not just numbers coming through some transmission, but there are photographs and images of the pink sheets and the collation sheets. And so at the National Collation Center, the results that are coming in are the regional collation sheet and the regional summary sheet. All of them are signed by the agents of the political parties. And this is what we have, and this is what is presented to the political parties before certification by the chair. So we thought that it's important to express our regrets for our inability to organize and the declaration at 5 p.m. as planned. This is what had happened. The unexpected rains and some of the challenges that we experienced as a result of the rain, and indeed some challenges that had occurred at the collation center made it difficult for us to declare the results as expected. We are hoping that we are hoping that in the early hours of this morning we would receive 2 additional results and will thereafter be able to make the declaration sometime tomorrow. It's also important, in the past, the issue of parliamentary results was something that was declared at the constituency level. We've noticed that there's been some confusion about the number of seats in parliament, and we ensure that we assure you that tomorrow we will make this information available to you as to the number of seats in parliament, which party has which number of seats, how many independent candidates we have in parliament, to put the issue of the number of seats parties have in parliament to rest. We are collating this. Currently, the information is going out on our website, but this is some information that we'll share with you tomorrow so that we can put that matter to rest. We entreat you to ignore some of the speculations and allegations that have gone out. We can actually give you copies of the sheets as they come in from the Regional Collation Center. They are not numbers that come through a channel, as I mentioned, or through some transmission lines. They are just images and photographs of the signed collation sheets that come from the regions, and these are approved and signed by the political parties. So we thought that we should put this matter to rest and to allay the fears of the public of anything untoward happening. We have received 14 results from the regions. They are all at the National Collation Center. The Commission cannot certify these results, and it's important to note that the Commission cannot certify these results without, and of course the parties approve it, they take it round for them to look at, and once that process is satisfied, it comes up to the Commission. So it's a bottom-up approach where you have parties looking at it and approving it and comparing it to the information that they already have from their agents at that level. And it is after that it is brought to the Commission for certification and made public. So this is the process, and we thought that it would be important to highlight some of these processes to allay the fears of Ghanaians that anything untoward is happening. We entreat you, you are our media partners. Many of you have walked this journey with us, and you know this process very well. So we also entreat you that together with the Commission, let us educate the citizenry and share this information to those who may not be aware of it. Because I think the peace of this country should be paramount. And the truth is what should stand at the end of the day. And so we entreat you as partners who have walked this journey with us to highlight some of these issues and to inform the political parties about it. And maybe as a way of enabling you to see what happens, it may be important to share the pink sheets and put them on the website as they appear. What we've done now is to, try to take out the information and put it in templates. But I think this evening, the 7 sheets, the 7 results that have been declared, we will take those pink sheets, collation sheets, and also put them on the website so that it also provides you with some information as to how these things are come about. So we'd like to thank you very much for coming at short notice, and we look forward to engaging with you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we should, Madam Chair. Very well said. Thank you very much for the presentation. Yeah, the floor is open, but just a few questions, maybe just about 2 of them. Just about 2 questions in view of the time. It's past 12 midnight. So
I want to ask.
Okay.
Which time exactly will the declaration be made?
Exactly. We are not out of the woods yet. So you need to...
Sylvia, can you... I think he's asked his question. You can give it to the next one. So,
we're seeing tomorrow, and when I check my time, we are already in tomorrow. So, Madam Chair, for clarity, which tomorrow are you referring to? A Wednesday?
Tomorrow.
Or a Thursday?
Tomorrow.
Because today is past 12.
Okay, that's good to know. So I think Wednesday.
Okay.
We are not able to give the exact time. I think that because you are on our platform, once the information goes out, we would share it with you, provide you with enough time for you to, adequately participate.
I think your intervention has been quite plausible. So keep it up. And is there anything else we can get in terms of just the things you put on the platform with what you just told us in highlight forms, so that we can also share on other platforms as well? Thank you very much.
I said 2 questions. No, let's go.
Madam Chair, you did mention that so far 14 have been received, remaining 2. Are you able to clarify where these regions, or which regions are these, and why the results are not yet in? And then secondly, initially in the course of the day, we saw that there were social media updates, but a lot of Ghanaians are asking questions. The results that are being published are just that of people or parliamentary candidates who have won. Why is that the case? Shouldn't all the data be represented for Ghanaians to appreciate how each candidate is performing? Why just the people winning constituencies being put out on social media?
Thank you very much.
I think at the moment we have 14, but we have 2 regions, Bono East and the Northern region, whose results we are yet to receive. And I think that we've had some challenges, as you know, in Bono East, in Techiman, and this has, left our staff a little apprehensive, and so there's a bit of, tension in the environment, and so they are not able to move about freely, and this has resulted in, the delays. We are hoping that they assured us that things have normalized, and we believe that they will feel confident enough to move around, so we expect that we should get the results later on today. Additionally, in the Northern region, we had an instance where there was some challenge to some polling station where I think there had been one person, an overvote by 1. And I think that one of the parties had requested, because there was an overvote by 1, the whole election should be annulled. and that resulted in some discussions the whole day. So it also led to the delay. But I believe those issues have been resolved, and we hope that as we have mentioned, later on today we should be able to have the full complement of the results. It's important that I think we try to inform the public about the process, that unlike the constituency results which would come in at random, so if one can come in from Central, one can come in from Volta, one can come in from Uti. In this case, you had to have the results in its totality. And therefore, if you had 40 constituencies or 45 constituencies and one was delaying, you couldn't send us the regional collation sheet, because you are not sending us constituency results anymore. You are sending us the collation on the sheet. And once you have 45 and you have only one delaying, it holds you back. Whilst this is a more simplified process, because the commission is dealing with only 16 results that have gone through 3 processes: polling station, constituency, and regional. You may have the challenge of one constituency or one polling station in a constituency holding you back, and it may result in a delay because you are unable to then send your collation form and your summary sheet. So this is what had led to some of the delays. But as I mentioned, we hope that during the course of today we should be able to get the two regions. I think you also mentioned the information that we've put out, that it's been of candidates who have won. Usually the parliamentary is declared at the constituency level. I think this is the first time that we see that once it's declared, there's no issue and it's all dealt with down there. But it's something that we are working on. And I believe that we thought that immediately let's get the snapshots of those who had won in each constituency. But in addition to that, we have the candidates per each constituency, showing the percentage and the total number of votes they garnered, in that constituency, and that is also coming up. I believe that, by the close of day tomorrow, we should have a clear picture of all the parliamentary seats, the number of persons who contested, the results they garnered, and the percentage, and so on. Thank you very much.
So that's Jean Mensah, the Electoral Commission chairperson, addressing a press conference earlier, just about 2 hours or so ago, or 3 hours, I should say. Together with the other commissioners, updating the nation on why they were unable to declare the results. Heavy rainfall in some parts of the country being one of the causes, and also some confusion at some collation centers, as she puts it. So they have 14 results received from the various regions.
14 so far. 7 certified.
Have been certified. And then they're waiting for results from the northern region and the Bono Ahafo region. We don't know if that has happened just yet. But our man, Parker Wilson, is still at the Electoral Commission. We'll be checking with him. The coalition center is still open, I'm sure. And the various representatives of the political parties are still there waiting for results from these 2 regions. Bono, earlier, we had issues with the Techiman South Coalition Center. There was some concerns when the results were declared for Martin A.J. Mensah Costa.
It was contested, actually.
Exactly. It was contested, and some scuffle of a sort broke out during that, leading to the shooting of some two persons, supporters of...
And we saw some images of that earlier in the day. Not pleasant scenes at all, you know, with the security forces having to step in, and if you saw the videos...
Firing warning shots and all.
Firing warning shots and shoving people aside. Those are scenes we don't want to see, and at least some calm was restored over time.
We're told, and we're still waiting for results from there. I'm sure all things being equal, we should be able to get the results, and maybe the EC will be able to declare the results later this morning. Or close.
We don't know how long it's going to be, but they've said that, I mean, initially they said shortly they'll be getting back to us on how long it would take. They've not given us a specific time they're going to get back to us. But it is our hope that later today, I mean, we can get past this hurdle, know who exactly is president of Ghana in 2021, I mean, moving from 2021, and who gets to be the majority side in Parliament as well.
Well, we'll look forward to that, because she assures at that press conference that it will happen today. She kept on saying tomorrow, but there were some questions that clarify that, and it was supposed to be Wednesday, and today is Wednesday. So we're hoping that by close of day, we should get that result. But Parliament is also very interesting, and the big falls and the surprises. There's been a lot of talk about those who have been defeated, NPP, MPs, and then deputy ministers. We've been talking about that early on in the day. But, well, we could just go through some of them. And we have Yaobabuyen Samoa. We'll start from Adenta constituency. So Mohammed Ramadan is heading to Parliament. He's the Adenta MP-elect. And then also we move from Adenta very close. We go to Medina. And
maybe just to stay with Ramadan, you know, in the family, there's a bit of a split between NDC and the NPP. So interesting dynamics in there. And Ramadan, prior to this, did state that he was going to do enough to take the constituency.
You forgot to add PNC also, because the
PNC as well.
PNC chairman
as well. So you have the NPP caucus, if you like, within the family, the NDC caucus, the MPP caucus, and then the PNC caucus as well. But he was able to wrest that constituency from Yaobabuyen Samoa. And I found that, well, it was a little bit surprising, because Yaobabuyen Samoa seemed to have done quite a bit in that constituency, at least in terms of presence. But Ramadan had said that he was moving, you know, going for the jugular. And indeed, he proved it right there. A sister constituency would be Medina, where Francis Xavier Sosu also came through for the NDC.
Defeating Boniface Abubakar Sadiq,
yes.
The former Zongo Development Minister. And then also to Ewutu Senya West.
Indeed.
We have George Anda also being defeated.
Falling there.
Of course. Gisela Tete is now on her way.
That is Hannah Tete's sister, actually taking the seat
now,
from her.
Agbotui, she's Gisela Agbotui, I should say. She's now representing the Ewutu Senya West constituency. Then the Deputy Attorney General, Joseph Dindiok Tempani. And he's also out now, out of Parliament.
So with the regional reorganization and all of that, and some constituency separation. So, you know, we used to have Garu Tempane and all of that. So now Garu is on its own, Tempane is on its own, and Pemka losing that. Well, some saying it's not so much of a surprise. When I was speaking to Dr. Suleiman Ibrahim of the Media Foundation for West Africa, looking at certain dynamics within that constituency and even what resulted in his win in 2016, some contests in there, giving the NDC's candidate quite a run for their money. You would understand the dynamics why this time Tempane has gone back to the NDC.
Well, so Elizabeth Afolekwe will come back to the Greater Accra region, Crow constituency. An interesting constituency to look out for, and the fisheries minister has just fallen.
She has fallen, but the dynamic here would be that if the NPP wins the presidential race and the NDC has won there, it would be one of those odd moments where Crow doesn't vote in line with the winning party on the presidential level. But another one I know you're going to have there would be Lejokuku, which I've spoken about quite a lot in the course of today. Major upset.
Yeah. One of my regular panelists on the lockdown through to beyond the lockdown, massive role he played during the COVID period, together with the information minister, always on hand to provide information.
I used to watch him, I mean, on your show, you know, giving us details. And, well, he's been axed as well. But there are those who have said that, you know, quite a number of those in deputy ministerial roles have lost their seats in parliament, which means that
accounts for that is something that I'm looking forward to. Political sciences students like yourself should be able to now start working.
Well, it would be tricky. It would be tricky. I mean, you would have to do some in-depth analysis. You can't just on the surface say it is owing to this or that. But when it comes to Lejokuku, for example, some of the reports I've got from constituency members, you know, the bit about when it comes to these coastal constituencies, you have fisher folk and you're looking at these outboard motors for their canoes and all of that, premixed fuel and all of that. And I hear some of these things. We heard some of the stories that came out, the premixed fuel not getting to the right people or being sold at exorbitant prices, the outboard motors as well, some party faithful supposedly cornering them, reselling them at exorbitant prices and actually getting the money into their pockets. All of those things apparently did not inure to the benefit of the Member of Parliament. I hear in some areas street lights were promised, they came in late and all of that. So you see that looking at the dynamics, there are certain things that the people wanted may not have come, or at least come at the time they wanted them. I also, from the reports I'm getting from that constituency, he related pretty well with the youth, but neglected, supposedly, some of the elderly folk. And maybe it was a bit of a miscalculation there because the youth, I don't know whether it's the numbers that didn't vote for him, or maybe some voted for him, but he didn't get as many as he expected. So quite a bit of
also
an interesting picture
is the focus on the elite side of that community or that constituency by Dr. Bernardo Koboy. But also one would have thought that the Fix the Lekma Road campaign would have, you know,
secured it for him.
Of course, but unfortunately that did not happen. But that's a major, you know, achievement for him, that Lekma Road that got fixed. Together with the media support.
Well, Sir John, may his soul rest in peace, said fear delegates. In this case, fear voters. Yeah, fear voters.
So and that's for Dr. Bernardo Koboy. Well, I am saddened by that, I should say. But hey, politics.
He's a lovable personality. It's kind of like, I forget his name, the former, I think at a point in time, was he finance minister? Only recently we were commemorating him with the MPP and Kufo. His name will come to mind, and I'll just mention the memorial lectures. Banredu. Banredu. I mean, whether or not you were a supporter of the MPP, fine gentleman, very good communicator, lovable personality. There are people like that you cannot help but, you know, like.
Okay, so we go to Nkranza North. We have Derek Odro.
Derek Odro.
The famous Derek Odro.
You know, some people were saying certain things. He didn't lose because he was incompetent. Not much. You know, in our constituencies, like it or not, a member of parliament will be expected to play certain roles that ordinarily you wouldn't expect. You know, that is not on the agenda when you get to parliament. You're a legislator and all of that, but you'll be hit with, hey, there's a funeral, there's a wedding you have to attend, and people expect you to give out. People line up at your premises in the morning asking for all sorts of things, and if you're not able to meet those, believe you me, in Ghana you could lose an election in your constituency, not because you're not competent as a legislator, not because you're not competent in pushing the agenda of that constituency, but simply because maybe you're not giving enough. And who knows what the story is for Derek Odro.
The life of an MP. I'm sure it's a program that I would want to host.
You know, that would be a good, the life of an MP.
We'll see about that. We go to Myong, and Mohammed Abdulaziz has also lost. But it's interesting that Derek Odro, Deputy Defense Minister, could not retain.
Could not defend his seat.
Well, that's a good one. So we also go to Cape Coast North, Barbara Shaisi. Barbara Shaisi.
Well, I always said
that coming.
Well, the central region, and I say thankfully here cautiously, I think we need more of the Krowas, the Lejokukus, the central regional caucus. Why? I say that because as they keep doing that, politicians will become much more responsible, especially parliamentarians. And you know that you can't take anything for granted.
At all.
You can't, disregard the voters or think this is a done deal. I mean, time and again in this election, especially in the parliamentary elections, we've seen that nothing is, a done deal at all. You're not home and dry. And so in that constituency as well, yes, expectations were that, Barbara would be able to retain the seat. But surprise, surprise, it did not happen that way. But I also mentioned that in the central region, there were, if you notice, there were quite a number of seats, Ekumfi, for example, and other seats where the winning margins were less than 1,000, which meant that they could swing either way. They could flip. And you see some of that happening. And when you look at the dynamics in the central region, 1996 till now, maybe a bit constant between 1996 and 2000, because in 92 it was not really a contest. But after 2000, it's swung. I mean, between the two parties, NDC and MPP, and sometimes it has swung very dangerously, if you like. So it's not anybody's, region to toy around with or claim. And I think it still continues to paint that picture, just as in some way the Greater Accra region is also painting that picture.
So the Ghanaian voter, safe to say, has become sophisticated?
Maybe the Ghanaian voter has learned to seek his or her own interest, which isn't a bad thing, because in the end, we want these people to deliver the goods to the constituencies. And so if it is accountability then that we are getting, then why not? Much more of that.
Anthony Abeifa-Cabo, Laura constituency. This time, didn't have the...
Was he not able to take any roads to his constituency?
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did, but we've just been talking about the Ghanaian voter and seeking their own interest. Now, you don't really know what exactly they want, depending on the area or the constituency they find themselves in. Because, he benefited. He came to power in 2016 because of the independent candidate that stood in that constituency. That's how Kambizidin did not win. They had to split the votes between the independent candidate, who was supposed to be an NDC member, and then Bizidin. That's
and
how come he was able to get...
if you added the votes of Bede and the independent candidate, of course he would have beaten Cabo.
Of course.
So this time you could say that without the influence of that third party, that person taking away votes,
it was a straight fight.
It was a straight fight.
It was difficult. So that's the fall of Anthony Abeifa-Cabo. Another sad one there. But we have
another movie title.
The Fall of Cabo. The Fall of Cabo, part 1 and 2. Okay, but that's a really a sad one. That's Anthony Abeifa-Cabo, very friendly to the media. But Mutawakilu, Adam Mutawakilu, I'm just wondering how that happened.
So I didn't really see it coming.
At all.
When I saw the votes, I felt, wow.
Damongo. And we've lost the ranking member on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee in Parliament. He was always on hand to speak on matters relating to energy. So the media has also lost a friend.
I'm sure we'll still get him to speak as a former, ranking on. I mean, he'll share his thoughts on energy matters. Of
course. But it's interesting. Earlier, we're talking about the dynamics. It looks like everybody that gets to the Energy Committee at some point loses that position by losing their seat as well. So this is the situation. So, but Abu Jinapo, we're going to have the two Jinapos. In Parliament, finally.
One from the MPP, the other from the NDC.
Finally, and I'm waiting to see them debate each other on the floor of Parliament. So Damango now goes to Abu Samuel Abu Jinapo, and we'll be seeing them both in Parliament, John Jinapo and Samuel Jinapo. I'm told they are both Abu though, but one is Samuel, one is John, and their big brother. So we'll see how it goes in Parliament. So these are the big fours at least. But this issue also about the party, the NPP, forcing people or candidates on delegates.
Obviously took a toll.
Yeah, it did. This is something that we're hoping that the party, I'm sure by this time, there'll be some introspection going on in the NPP, taking a look at how they push candidates on the delegates for them to be voted for. That issue about non-democracy when it comes to their primaries is an issue that it looks like need to be taking a look at.
It does look like it. And it appears in these elections, I mean, it's been la hustle, if not la lose. Some members of parliament were not able to hustle enough. And when you look at another, big four, Hohoi, John Peter Amewu in there. I mean, he was on the ground, he was doing the work. And if you look at the dropping numbers for the NDC in that constituency, and then you look at what the parliamentarian got this time around, at least the member of parliament they fielded, you would see a certain trajectory. And then again, you would want to ask yourself, apart from the MPP maybe foisting candidates on its, party members, you would ask yourself, when these parties realize that their candidates are getting unpopular, what are the moves to ensure? Because you know that there's a trend. You're making 60%, it drops to 50, and in the 50s, it keeps dropping.
But
and it's very close to 50%. You should know that at some point,
but they
you're
tell
going
you
to
that the
drop below 50.
percentages doesn't really count for them. Mostly they look at the nominal votes. So most of the time they'll tell you that it's not about the percentages, but it's about the figures itself.
It's first past the post.
Exactly.
And even when, though in the presidential we're thinking of 50% plus one, in the parliamentary as well, when it's a straitjacket fight like that, of course it's also 50% plus one that you are looking at. I mean, let's face the facts. The other smaller parties, they get just crumbs of the vote. So you're looking at the two, and of course 50% must matter to you. So in this instance, but you would say that the NDC lost and gained, because in the Kratchi area, which is actually OT, which used to be part of the former Volta region, Kratchi East, going back to the NDC, becoming green again, and a bit of a sad one there for Michael Jatto.
He lost it too. He was a lone ranger, no longer. He's been retired. But you see, for me, the major highlights of this whole election is John Peter Amewu's win. Because I didn't see that coming, even though he had a hold on the ground in terms of his personal touch with the people. He made it a point to actually be in touch with the people that he was seeking to represent in Parliament. The talk on the ground is that every home in the areas that...
Every clan, every home.
Best put, every clan, every home, he had a touch, at least visited them at every point in time and made some form of impact in terms of help to one person.
I hear he was identifying people within the families, one or two, and he would say, look, within your family, give me some people.
This is what I can do for you.
What that means is that in the end, even if MFA, you are not personally been touched, you would be able to say, oh, my cousin, my daughter or something, someone had felt the impact. And of course, that would sway, people's minds and hearts. And that also tells you that if our members of parliament want to go that way, because I keep, reminding all of us that being a member of parliament, first and foremost, is about your legislative responsibilities and using whatever you have to bring, the betterment of your constituency or your constituents. Now, some of these personal touches we are talking about, they are not necessarily what is expected of a member of parliament. But of course, if you're able to go that extra mile, then the people feel that affinity for you. They have that affiliation to you, and anyone taking that for granted, if the person competing against you is doing that well, you better,
up your game.
Up your game.
And don't forget, he was the chairman of the NPP in the Volta region. He must have hatched this plan long ago, because...
Amewuba has been on the ground for quite a while. This is actually not the first time he's actually contesting. He's been on the ground, so he knows Hohoi very well, and he took his chances. And I feel the incumbent simply didn't realize, she didn't catch on with regard to the act. By the time she could say Jack, Hohoi had gone blue.
Interesting, and it's so surprising. And of course, the president also made some inroads in terms of gains.
Major gains there.
Major gains in terms of the vote that the NPP's candidate got in Hohoi as well. So it's just not Peter Amewu winning that seat, but also the NPP making some major inroads. And also looking at the vote in other areas of the Volta region, and OT as well, even though the party took over, or the NDC took over the OT region, winning all the seats there. If you're looking at the figures in terms of the candidates, what they got, the NPP got in the region, is something that I'm sure that the NDC would have to wake up to and take a look again, because the president keeps on saying that the Volta region is a bride that he's hoping to woo, and will stop at nothing to do so. And looking at the figures that they got in the Volta region, that should be a wake-up call to the NDC, if that Volta region is still the World Bank of the NDC.
Maybe at some point I will go to the smart wall and we can take a look at the 2020 dynamics, maybe compare them to 2016. But in Yagaba Kubori as well, Mustafa Yusuf flipping that seat for the NPP. So quite some, the
NDC also got some casualties there. So
yes.
It's not just the NPP and some appointees, but there's some casualties also for the NDC. So we will look at it. Felix Kwachiofusu also was not
losing
able,
marginally.
Was not able
less than 1,000 votes.
Abra Sebu Kwamankese. We're hopeful. Most people were looking forward to Felix Kwachiofusu in Parliament together with Sam George, Samuel Okujeto Blakwa, and Hassan
who has won.
Suhini. Yes, of course. And pairing. I'm just looking at that squad in Parliament. Mutaka Mubarak.
Finally securing Asawasi.
Oh yes, by a convincing margin. Really won that seat. But I was just taking a look at that quartet, looking at Felix Kwachiofusu, we look at Sam George, we look at Alhassan Suhini, and Okujeto Blakwa. What a parliament that would have been. But that didn't happen. But of course, they still have a formidable team in Parliament, and we're still looking at it. But talking about elections, earlier I was telling you about the Chichman South and the chaotic scenes that we witnessed at the Coalition Center. There was a similar incident also at the Ablekuma Central, leading to a shooting of a journalist, Pius. He's with one of the newspapers. I readily
I think it's Newswatch.
Newswatch GH. Great, Newswatch GH. And the GJA had cause to condemn such brutalities and asking political parties to refrain from attacking journalists in the line of duty. I say this because once we are waiting for results to be declared, there will be jubilation and there will be, people crying, because of the defeat. And it will end up in people being attacked. And we're hopeful that it will not be the journalists, because we are just there to report on what we see.
I hear in one of the instances, people, mistook the person who was attacked for an EC official. It's not to say it is right if it's because you shouldn't be attacking
an EC official in the first place.
Official, but some people thought it was an EC official rather than a media person. But it means there's a lot more education that must go into, our electoral process, and people understanding that, look, it is what it is, and the will of the people is what must be expressed. Win or lose, you win some, you lose some. At some point you lose, at some point you win, and you must take it in your stride.
And of course, our colleague Latif Idris had cause to be attacked in the line of duty, and we're close to him, so we know the impact. We know the seriousness of the situation. He's still living with, whatever it is that happened to him that day. Those
today when I saw him in the midst of
so you could tell
the crowd there, you could feel his apprehension.
Of course, that's why he says, let me go, because this is something that he's gone through before. Wouldn't want to go through it again. And this time, to be shooting at a journalist. Let's listen to the Ghana Journalists Association at that press conference earlier today. It's election 2020, and this is your election headquarters. It's on the Joy News channel, also on Joy 99.7 FM, myjoyonline.com. You're tweeting at us at #ElectionHQ. We're also on DSTV, channel 421. GoTV is channel 144. And our coverage is brought to you in association with Petrol Soul. Clean fuel in full quantity is always a delightful experience. Cowbell Coffee, taste it, love it. And that's what is keeping us us awake, isn't it? And then McDan Shipping and Logistics Limited, your total logistics partner. Padeva Limited, your home of molding furniture. DDP Outdoor Limited, serving great brands throughout the years. Festiva is adding flavors to your life. You know the brand that will make your festive season the best, and it's Festiva. And with 3-year lotteries, star 787 hash. That's the ish now. Star 787 hash. Ghana's premier and biggest jackpot lottery and HEPA Plus mixture for your general well-being. They are making our coverage of election 2020 possible. We're still on the path to 50+1, and we're doing this till 5, and then we hand over. And we're giving you extensive coverage. This is your home of credible, fearless, and bold journalism. This is Joy News. I am Emefa Pao, and I'm here with my colleague
Benjamin Akakpo. We're keeping you company all the way till 5 o'clock, and the coverage doesn't end there. We're going to keep coming your way until even after we get, the official declaration of the results from the Electoral Commission. Don't you forget, we are your election headquarters. Hashtag election HQ. So there's quite an exercise we're going to be doing shortly. MFR, would you like to walk us through?
I thought you're on your feet because you're feeling sleepy, but you feel like playing a game.
Yes, I feel like playing a game.
Okay, so
right here on our smart wall.
So we're going to play a game on the smart wall.
Right.
There are a number of things that I'm curious, itching to know about.
Right. So you get to be boss.
No.
You tell me what to do, and I'll do it on the screen.
I get to ask what I want to know. Then you help me because you know it all when it comes to the smart wall. So what do we have? We have the map of Ghana.
We have the map of Ghana. And when you look at it right now, I mean, it paints a bit of a picture because you would see a lot of green. Let me just drag this back here. You would see a lot of green, which actually represents places where the NDC has won. And the blues represent where the NPP has won. But don't you forget about voter populations and population concentrations in certain places. You would notice that in the Ashanti region, for example, some 47 constituencies there. And you see that little bit. I just don't want to go into the Ashanti region, but that would be Asawase. That is the little dot of a green there. Eventually, we'll get into that. But how about we start from, say, the Greater Accra
region. Okay, but I must issue this caveat though. What we have, that's the population of the map, as in the red, the blue and the green, is out of 258 constituencies that we have out of the 275 constituencies that we're hoping to have in full. And so that's what we're doing now. So we're doing the Greater Accra region. Where are we starting from?
And when you look at, just to clarify, the white areas, they are unconfirmed so far. So just select any place. I mean, apart from Shai Osudoku, which I've highlighted, let's talk, for example, let's get into Adenta.
Okay.
For example. And when you go to the presidential constitutional for 2020, let's see what exactly happened in the Adenta constituency, which was actually lost by Yababina Samoa. Now, the winning party would be John Dramani Mahama's NDC with 52.8%, 60,000+ of the votes. The incumbent, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, with 52,000, a difference there of about 8,000, a little less than 8,000. But it would be interesting to find out what the dynamics were in the year 2016.
Okay.
So notice that the difference was about 8,000. Now, in 2016, when it comes to Adenta, it was actually the NPP that was on top here with 34,546 of the votes, which means that, the voter turnout must have been much bigger in 2020 because the population did shoot up a bit. And here, John Dramani Mahama getting 32,000 of the votes then. So quite a net gain, if we may just go back. Here we have 32,000 and 34,000. And in 2020, we have 52,000. So
the voter turnout here
60,000. The turnout, 75%. So it paints a certain picture about
the valid votes,
turnout.
13,000.
Exactly. So you look at the jump there. Now 113,000 in 2020. When you go to 2016, 67,257. So obviously the changes, the dynamics, and obviously maybe even the add-ons when it comes to new voters would have impacted, the shoot there. But when you go to the parliamentary, here's the picture. Maybe we should start from 2016. Now in 2016, Yawabena Samoa was the winning candidate there, with some, the valid votes being 67,000 plus, and he got 33,000. Now, mind you, his own candidate got around 32,000 thereabouts. Now, 33,000 for him, 32,000 plus for the NDC's Mohammed Ramadan. Now, Ramadan came back
in 2020.
He got 48.6%, and in 2020, the tale of the tape is that Ramadan has now overturned this with 63,000 and only 49,000. So that's a gap of about 14,000 for Ramadan this time. Now, mind you, in the initial one from 2016, it was just about 2,000 thereabouts. Now, look at the gap that has been given here. So
let's not
quite a
forget
picture.
The voter turnout is higher in
Exactly, 75%. And another interesting one would be Francis Xavier Sosu's
very close to
Medina. And in 2020, of course, this is where he is contesting his first time, and he has been able to unseat Boniface Sadiq, who just got 42.8% of the votes, 46,000, and Francis Xavier Sosu getting 61,000. Another big
and
gain
speaking
there.
to Evans Mensah and Winsing Amwa earlier, he was shocked at the margins.
Yes.
He knew he was going to win.
He knew he was going to
By
win.
this
He was
margin.
confident, but the margin he didn't
Has blown his
expect to be
mind.
this big. Out of the 108,000, neither did I think it would be this big. And let's just go to 2016, where Francis Xavier Sosu was not actually contesting. Now, then it was Sadiq going against Sorogo.
Yeah, he was the incumbent then.
Exactly. And here, of course, the lower numbers, 31,650 for Sorogo, 40,000 for Sadiq. So you can see that Sadiq has lost ground, maybe not in terms of votes because the voter turnout is bigger now, but in terms of the portion of the votes that he's actually got. Any other, where did you vote, MFR?
Ablekuma North.
Ablekuma North. So let's do this and look for Ablekuma North, which should be here.
The corner there.
Right. So, no, that is Okaikwe South. Let's go to Ablekuma North.
Yeah.
Now, in 2016, with a valid voter turnout of about 81,000, Nana Efrie of the NPP got 66.8% of the votes with 54,000, 26,000 for the NDC's candidate. Let's check out what the tale of the tape is.
So Nana Efrie did not contest. She lost the primaries.
Exactly.
Exactly. In the primaries. But Sally still contested in 2020. So let's look at what happened in 2020.
So let's check out the parliamentary in 2020. And Sheila Bartels here with 64.2%. In fact, there were pictures of her with people pouring powder on her and all of that. So she has been able to actually retain this seat for the MPP. 54,000 of the votes, and there too.
You know the history of Sheila Bartels and Kwamina Bartels. That's the daughter, and Kwamina Bartels retained the seat for how long? A number of years.
Quite a long
before
time.
Giving it over to Joe. So it's not surprising that Sheila Bartels,
his daughter, has come to take it up.
Inroads from the primaries all the way to winning this particular seat. Of course, this area, the Ablekuma North area, has always been an NPP seat.
It has.
I've lived there for over 30 years, and it's always been an NPP seat.
So interesting dynamics there. We could say the same about Hannah Tete's, sister as well. Sometimes the pass on. So interesting dynamics
I'm
here
interested in
as well.
Wejagbari. Okay, so it's still blue.
So Wejagbari is still blue. Let's quickly go there.
But I would want to see the trends in terms of the gains she made in 2016.
So maybe let's just check out parliamentary, of course, and let's check out the trend. And if you go, if you take a look at the trend, you look at 2008. Of course, the MPP has been winning that seat, but you go to 2008 and you see here for the parliamentary, the NPP winning with some 53.7% of the votes, actually more than they got for the presidential with 52.1%.
Tina gave them the highest in 2016.
Exactly the
in terms
case.
of the votes in the percentages.
Exactly the case.
And Nana Addo also got the highest since 2008 when that constituency was carved out.
Yes.
Okay.
So in 2016, for example, you see that they're getting 61.6%, which is the last election. Impressive. But in the parliamentary, there was a bit of a drop.
And that she was contesting against Obobia Dakopoko in 2016 there in the Wejagbawe constituency. So in spite of President Akufo-Addo getting 61.6%,
exactly,
Tina Mensah had 57.3%.
4 percentage points being lost by...
I'll write that down. Let's go to 2020 in terms of how she fared. So she got 46,000 back then in 2016. What did she get in 2020? So
let's do this. Now, in 2020, as far as that constituency is concerned, Tina Mensah now gets 46,875.
Just about the same votes.
Of the votes, 58.1%. And then Cleland Aisen getting 32,000, about 14,000 shy of, yes, indeed, about 14,000 shy of what Tina Mensah gets. So those are the dynamics in
but she's increased in terms of percentages.
Increased,
looking at what she got.
58.1%, because the last one we saw was 57 point something percent, while the presidential candidate had got about 61%. Now, let's look at some other areas, and maybe Ningo Pram Pram would be interesting because of Sam George. Maybe a quick look at 2016, just for the comparative analysis. When you do 2016, of course, he won there. He is the incumbent. And 23,860 of the votes, accounting for 63%. Then Sylvester Tete with 13,588 of the votes, accounting for 35.9%. Question is, was Sam Jatta George able to make any gains? Let's find out as we come to 2020. And yes, indeed.
Wow, massive gains.
Massive gains there. 46,000. That's quite an add-on.
From the previous 33,860. Now, this year, 2020, is
46,661. Now, you know, we had a
7.7% of the vote.
Exactly. We had our concerns about whether Sam George would even be able to, because even in his political party's primary, he won by just a handful of votes. And we felt, if even within his party, I mean, he was struggling to get votes, what would it mean contesting in the constituency? But it doesn't appear Alexander Mate, who came to replace, the other candidate they had, they fielded in 2016, Stephen Tete, was able to do much, because in fact there was a drop in the votes here as far as the NPP's candidate is concerned. Okay, so I think we've done enough of the Greater Accra region. So let's do some other somewhere regions else apart from the Greater Accra region. So maybe let's do the Northern region. Or maybe before the Northern region, let's do the Eastern region. Okay. The Eastern region, because predominantly the Eastern region votes MPP. Yes. And it is interesting this time around in places like, Akwetia, for example, seeing what happened there. Let's check out the presidential voting in Akwetia in 2016. Now, in 2016, Akufo-Addo winning massively by 14 plus percentage points there. 21,000 versus John Dramani Mahama's 15,000. Now, you check out the trend and look at it. 1996, of course, the NDC taking it. Since that time, it has been the NPP all through. 58%, 55%, 54%, 50%, and 56%. The highest being now, in 2000. The highest being in 2000. But here too, you would notice a bit of a flop, diminishing returns until, in 2016, it came back up. The ante is upped there. But of course, when it comes to the parliamentary, in 2012, a bit of a shocker here with the NDC garnering this 50.4%. So that's it with the trends there. But now that we've seen what Akwetia presented in 2016 for the presidential. Let's check out what it presented in 2020. So let's note down those figures. 21,000 for Akufo-Addo, 15,000 for John Dramani Mahama. When we come to 2020, again, it is 21. John Dramani Mahama increases by about 1,000 votes, but the figure for the MPP is static, almost around the same figure. So
this
not
time
too much.
A drop in the percentages because it used to be 56.9%.
Exactly.
In 2016. Now we're seeing 55.5% in 2020. And Mr. Mahama gained what? It's now 42.3%.
41.3.
It used to be 42.3%.
Right.
Now it's 41.3%.
But that would also be because of the turnout.
The turnout and then the valid votes.
Exactly. Also. So there's been an increase in the votes, but because of the turnout, it also shoots up and his percentage is less. But it gets interesting when you look at the fact that Nana Akufo-Addo is winning in Akwetia. But let's check out the parliamentary and how that turns out. Let's start with 2020, the current figure. Now, with the parliamentary, that's where there's a flip. And Henry Wache of the NDC actually takes it with 19,000 plus votes. And here, Ernest Kumi earns a little shy of that with 18,000 plus votes. And there's a bit of a drop in the votes here, which tells you that some people may not have voted in the parliamentary, maybe as a form of protest, which in a way has accounted for the NDC's candidate.
And of course, Ernest Kumi, the issue we've been talking about earlier, about the party forcing candidates on the delegates to vote for them. The issue about lack of democracy in that process comes to play here because the figures are speaking to that.
Well, so interesting dynamics.
Because I must say, you recall, was going independent, the president spoke to her and she rescinded.
She had to step back,
of course,
and all of that. And that, in fact, would create a situation
where... she's the person on the ground, maybe her supporters may have done this in protest.
It just might have been the case. Should we maybe go to Fomena before we go up north?
So we're going to the Ashanti region.
The Ashanti region, definitely. So let's hit the Ashanti region. And that's going to be a bit of a big one, finding Fomena. So
right there, down there, down. That's it. That's Fomena. You just
great. So let's go to Fomena, and that's the interesting dynamic here. It's not giving us the full...
That's the independent candidate. He's won that.
So it's a typical, you find it in the Ashanti region. I mean, this table will show you, but maybe looking at the trends, you would see that yes, there have been some increments. It's been flipping and flopping in terms of the voting pattern. So 96, 64%, but then you look 70, 70, 70-ish. Then in 2012, 60 something, and then we come back to the 70s. And it reflects in the parliamentary voting as well. But when you go here and you look at 2016, you find that, so we've gone to a different...
that's it, it's still down there.
Fomena.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, Fomena in 2016, we have Andrew Esiama, who is the incumbent, who actually got 14,000 plus of the vote, 72%, and William Ajay Mensah just getting a paltry 20.5%. And Andrew Esiama is the same person who defected from the, if you like, from the party when he decided to go independent.
With the same issues about primaries.
Exactly. Now, let's find out.
And he will be a deciding factor, depending on how it goes, because already they are concerned about whether the NPP, if they're able to win this election, will still get the majority in Parliament.
Right now, it's looking like it's neck and neck in Parliament, and he could be the decider.
Yeah.
So let's check out...
But he has already mentioned that he's doing this for the NPP.
Right.
But it remains to be seen if...
well, we'll see what he does when he gets... Because he's one of those who have made it to the 8th Parliament in the 4th Republic. But right before that, so now we see what has happened here with regard to the Ashanti region for Mena. It came earlier with the independent candidate, but we know that he has
Bekwai is right on top of
Bekwai is right on top, yes. Maybe we should do, for the sake of comparative analysis, 2016
first.
So in 2016, this was the picture that was actually painted.
That's Jose Usu, the
Joe
first
Wise.
Deputy Speaker of Parliament.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 49,000 of the votes, Jantua Mary, with 7,000 plus of the votes out of the chunk of 57,000. Now,
Huge win there for
the gap 42,000 plus. So we come to 2020 then. And what is the picture here? Well, it's pretty much the same, though it's a different candidate being fielded by the NDC.
We don't have the independent candidates on there because we had lawyer Mufa contesting as an independent candidate, still on the issues about primaries. Right. So he went independent against Jose Usu. Jose Usu came into power under the same circumstances. Yes. We don't.
And I know the issue with Jose Usu and protecting some members of parliament and all of that.
But you see that he's dipped in terms of the figures.
He's dipped slightly, but in this instance, you would see that it is not like the Fomena.
No, the percentages, Ben.
The percentages may tell
6.1%.
Look,
now it's 61.5%.
Yes, but you look at the number. Let's look at this: 40,275. So maybe we should just do this. Let me just do this now. The number we're looking at here, 40,275. That is for Joe Wise, and then 2,877 for the NDC. Let's go back.
Unfortunately,
and take
we don't
a
have
look
our
at
first gains. Okay.
So we can go to parliamentary. I think I have to let go of this first before we can get to that one.
Okay. These toys sometimes.
Yes. So it can be a bit
Until
getting rid of
right there.
This one can be a bit of an issue.
Okay.
So a bit of a hassle we're going through now. But basically what I was trying to get to was the initial figure from the parliamentary. And it appears this is still in there. Let me see whether I can just let go of this and come back. Okay. So
that's okay. That's okay. So
this. Okay, still trying to get.
So we're trying to take a look at the Bekwai constituency and then also look at the gains made by Jose Usu, and then take a look at the figures in terms of what we've seen previously in 2016 and then now in 2020. So that's the situation that we have with Jose Usu. So then we'll take a look at it. And
we'll be getting to that shortly.
We've been arguing about the figures that he got in 2016 and what he got here in 2020, knowing that there's been an independent candidate that's been challenging him. Lawyer Kwesi Amofa, we are told, also made some major inroads, major gains as against what Jose Usu did. There have been issues about votes buying, allegations of the EC official meeting Joe Wise at an ungodly hour way before the elections. These are some of the issues that came up, but Jose Usu managed to maintain that seat.
At least in that constituency, you can see that whatever threats there were from the independent candidate did not come to bear, like we saw in Fomena, where it was very palpable. Yeah. We're just waiting for this to refresh so that we can get back to the map. It would have been interesting to see what exactly the differences were, because what I saw were marginal, though the percentages changed wildly, but what I saw was actually marginal. It's taken quite a bit of time.
That's okay, because you've been playing with it for too long. It has to rest as well. So, but that's fine. You've really enlightened me on some of these figures for 2016, 2020. It's interesting. Once we're able to do that, Damongo is an area that I would want us to take a look at.
In the Savannah region.
Tawakilu and Abu Jinapo.
Right.
Wanted to know the 2016 trend and then also 2020, how it looks like. But this current parliament, 26 incumbents of the NPP lost their seats. 26 of them, they lost their seats. And out of that, we have 21, which are ministers, or deputies or ministers of state. Yeah. Interesting, but this is for.
And let's not forget the roles they are playing in Parliament. Some of them,
most of them on major committees. Some of them deputies, Attorney General, and I'm wondering if the president is able to win this, we're told, of course, the figures that we have, 258 out of 275, he is in the lead. But we're waiting for the Electoral Commission to give us that final results. We've been taking a look at if he wins, and these are mostly deputies. We don't know if Dr. Bernard Okoboy will remain a deputy health minister. We know that the president He could.
He
very,
could. I mean,
very,
at the behest
likely.
of the president, he could.
He could.
But it could also mean that.
He could.
I mean,
But
because there are certain ground rules that we've decided when it comes to those in parliament and constituting, you know, the part of those who become ministers.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at that and see if indeed Dr. Bernard Okoboy will remain a deputy minister. Also, Dienjok Pemka, whether he also remain a deputy attorney general, whether Afolekwe will remain the fisheries minister, and also Derek Odo, whether he will remain the
How about Anthony Kabu?
Minister, Anthony Abeifa Kabu, whether he will remain the deputy roads minister. Also, Yao Babien Samwa, okay, so he is the communications officer of the NPP. We'll see how that will turn out. George Anda, whether he will remain the deputy communications minister. So we'll see. And then Barbara Shaisi, will there be a major thinking? Because if these are your soldiers and they were unable to retain their seats, we'll look at it, whether indeed what really went wrong.
Maybe the parliamentary elections have done the reshuffle for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, should he actually win the presidency.
Okay, well, Ben, we'll just take a quick break at this point. We're just in the dying embers of our segment here on Path to 50 plus 1. Mama Vio Swabwaje, and then of course Kojo Yangston will be taking over. I'm tired. I think. I think
we've done our bit.
Yeah, I think so. But of course, we love to do this. We'll bring you some picture stories here on TV, and you need to be part of this. I always say that you need to download the My Joy Online app on your phone, on your tablet, everywhere. Just download it. Play Store is available. On the App Store also it's available. I always say it's clearer on an iPhone. On an iProduct, yeah, unashamedly. Also on Huawei.
You had to say that.
Also on Huawei, you can download it and then you can be part of this. But our radio audience will take a quick break as well. We're back shortly. And that's how we wrap this segment, Part 250 plus 1. And coming up next is Kojo Yangston and Mama V Owusu-Aboagye. They're starting the morning with you till we get that declaration of results by the Electoral Commission. And of course, the concession and, victory speeches will bring all that to you, plus the jubilations of the streets of Accra and Ghana. That's how we sign out today. I am MF Apao.
I am Benjamin Akakpo. And, we ought to clap for ourselves. We've done this lap, this dawn lap, 1 to 5. And Kojo and Mama V taking over from here. Do stay with us, and don't you forget to reach out to us via social media with the hashtag ElectionHQ. All right, so this is where we wrap up. Do stay with us.
And this is your election headquarters. Do stay with us.